Weldon Bunt. I spent 25 years of incarceration for homicide, robbery, grand larceny, man, possession of marijuana, and a whole bunch of dumb stuff for real. And that time of self-reflection really became my state grace, if you want to call it that, because I had being boxed in that cell, I was confronted with just myself and what it was I was going to do with my life. You know, I had committed myself not to dying in prison. And that meant that I had to do some changing in how I think. Bro had said that when I came home back in October of 18, I got kind of thrown right into the fire, you know, in a sense, which really wasn't, I guess I ain't gonna call it a fire, but just got thrown into the mix of what I should have been doing from the beginning. And probably about, I guess maybe 3 or 4 months later, they decided that they wanted me to be the workshop coordinator for the RVA League for Safer Streets. And at the time, I probably didn't really understand exactly the significance of the position, because prior to every basketball game, anybody that's playing in the league has to sit down and go through a workshop. Now imagine me being from a whole different area, got to speak to a demographic of kids. I don't know them personally, but I kind of understand the demographics they come from, and then try to build, you know, some trust with them to, you know, just want to give me an ear to my life experiences. So at the beginning stages, you know, it was kind of difficult, but once they realized that I was just them, and like bro was saying, we bring a prison to them so that they don't have to go to prison to get it. It just transformed into just a beautiful experience. You know, the respect factor was there, the communication, because that was something that I really felt was important, because while I was in, I assessing my own weaknesses, I realized that communication was the thing that I was really lacking in. I used to talk a lot, but I didn't really know how to communicate. And once I started to understand the components of communication, you know, the first skill set was active listening. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we talk, but we don't want to listen, which is why we don't learn. So from there, I learned about, you know, the emotional awareness and how, you know, if you can't identify with other people's emotions and the things that they're going through, you ain't gonna never be able to connect with them. Because a lot of times people, they tend to try to prescribe for us solutions to our problems that don't really understand what we're going through. We had the opportunity, or I guess you could say the privilege, to go to MLK Middle School to speak to the whole teacher staff. The principal, Miss Dabney, had invited us out, right? And I want to share this experience for one reason. And they were talking about some of the difficulties that they faced in trying to reach the youth in the school. And I said to them, I gave them this one example. I said, look, imagine that you got this little girl, right? Maybe 13, 14 years old, and she's coming to school and she seems a little distracted, and she's not doing as well as she's capable, because her grades have shown in the past that she's capable of learning. But all of a sudden there's been a drop in her academic performance. I said, every day that she comes in, right, she's counting time on the clock, because when 3 o'clock comes, she has to go home, and she got this predator, no pedophile stepfather that's waiting for her to come home to sexually molest her, while her mom's is at work till maybe say like 6. So she has a hard time kind of concentrating, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or this young brother that comes through, and his mom's might be strung out on drugs, and he sees her boyfriend being abusive to him. It's kind of hard for him to focus on math and science or English when he knows what's going on in his home, because he's really thinking about doing some physical harm to this person that's causing this conflict in his mother's life. So, you know, just using these examples to make them understand, stop trying to prescribe for us, you know, giving us prescription when you don't know what's wrong with us. So going back to the effective listening part, you got to listen to the youngsters, and you got to listen without judgment. Give them an opportunity to tell you what's going on, and then try to find solutions to their problems. Because the fact of the matter is, we ain't gonna be able to save everybody, right? So when I do my workshops, I don't go up there to, while I try to address conflict resolution, problem solving, critical thinking, but sometimes the workshops get custom made according to whatever the energy in the gym is.
Exactly.
You know, one brother had said,
amen, brother. Amen. Amen.
Brother, hey, one day we had one team that was from Highland Park, right? But they had the home court that day, so they didn't come into the gym for the workshop. They just stayed on an outside basketball court. And I had a brother that was complaining about them not being in there. And I said, look, bro, you got to give something. I said, for one, at least we know they on the court. They might not be on the court where the workshop is taking place, but they on the court that we can see them, and we know they ain't in the galley, in the alleys or on them corners with them gats, you know what I'm saying, doing some other stuff. And yeah, they might come in smelling like reefer or dope or, you know, I don't care nothing about that. If you come to the gym, to me, that's an indication that you want something different. So we got to figure out creative ways to reach them in that state, bro. So, you know, like I said, I feel honored to be in that position. Sometimes it's a burden because, you know, you got to constantly do these workshops and you got to keep them engaged and you got to make them want to listen to you. So I try to, like I said, share my life experience. I don't try to be preachy, you know, because I know you got people coming in there from different walks of life. You know, me, I'm a 5%er. So I don't try to just go in there speaking to individuals as if I'm a 5%er. I try to speak to humanity. And if it resonates with you, then it's your message. And if not, then somebody else might got to connect with you. So that's my spiel, bro.
That's dope. And I resonate with you so much on that, man, especially around the part about, you know, we have to adjust based on the energy in the room. So right. Just because you have a curriculum and a lesson plan, that means nothing to me. I'm going off the spirit of those young people in the room. And I don't get that spirit until I walk into that room and meet these young people.
For sure.
And then I get that spirit. And, you know, I've done this for 35 years and that's the way I do it. So when people tell me, what is your curriculum? I have tons of curriculum, but they don't know that I don't get that spirit until I walk in there and meet my brothers and sisters. And then the communication starts.
That's
and
beautiful.
A lot of organizations don't understand that.
There it is right there. So prime examples like Prince said, man, you know, we understand that the best leaders are the one that keeps themselves below the people that they're leading. You know, it's no big us and no we think that we're some type of, you know, superstars or we just come in here and we're going to eradicate every social ill that's going on inside the community. We just understand that we have a responsibility in leaving prison to come back and help try our best to eradicate some of the social ills that we once upon a time ago helped create. Now, our training ground, Prince and I facilitated all of the state mandated programs in the Department of Corrections, and pretty much no one can do it better. And we had so many young people would come in. And these were kids that they swore had antisocial behaviorisms. They wasn't pro-social. They swore to God they have these problems and this and that. And we had a whole melting pot. I mean, whole pods of all of the alphabets. And when I say all of the alphabets, we had Aryan Brotherhood. We had Bloods, we had Crips, we had GDs, we had Folks, we had MS-13, and we had to make that whole melting pot of antisocial or quote antisocial behaviors get along. And they didn't know how we did it, but we did. And how we did because we just understood the shared value. We leaned upon that lived experience and understanding that we've been over there before. We've been around them corners. We've been around that cut. We understand some things a little different than say somebody that don't have that particular experience. You know? So we just try to be keen in our understanding, man, of what is what. So when you want to talk about, you know, what's going on in society right now, whether that's systemic racism, institutional biases, or whatever you want to call it, you know, we also have an understanding of that. We know that there were some people that fear people like us, you know, because we didn't take the traditional way of education. We didn't take the traditional way of doing this and doing that, you know, and we, like the conversation we had the other day, we have to make them understand that not every grassroots organization has a strong pen or grant writer, if you will, like per se the YMCA.
Exactly.
Everybody don't have that. But guess what they said? You know what? We're going to come down, man. We're going to come down to their level. We're going to come down and we're going to have workshops where we're going to teach people how to do it. And then we're going to help them get it.
Yep.
You know, this is not the terminology they was using before because we made sure they understand that we heard all the lip confessing before, man.
Yeah, no, for
and
real.
we just not going for it no more.
Yeah, I know. And exactly, man. I'm with you, brothers. This resonates so well. And I think we could share so much. And I think we need to continue this call. But what I want to do is I want to have everyone introduce themselves. And then we got Jay Quan here. What's up, Jay?
What up, Jay? What's up? What up?
I'm free,
Jay
family.
Quan.
We're alive. All right. So, but no, what y'all saying is something that is so powerful. You know, what I got from you, Paul, just saying was, how do we address this issue that you got these organizations who come in with these grant writers who could put together these, and let me tell you, that costs money. And they put together these slick proposals, not only slick proposals, they have that institutional background to get these grants, where the organizations that could really do the work are totally undervalued and overlooked.
Yeah. Okay. You want to answer that?
Let me say a little something more about that, because, you know, I've been on both sides of the table. I work for those large organizations, and the organization we work for is one of those large organizations, but we have a zip code recruitment strategy that we only want to hire people in the zip codes where their young people live, because that's what makes sense, right? Because not only are you helping people who live where young people live, you're putting the money back into the community. But what my concern is, how do we address all these organizations that are making policies and fighting for policies? I get you, and I agree 100% that the direct work needs to be done by people in the community, but the policy has to be created by the people in the community too. Because if you can't see it, how can you fix it? If you, for example, all these workforce programs I work with, I love them to death. But if you don't talk about the reality of racism and discrimination where these young people get jobs, how can you write workforce policy? That's why all your workforce policy talks about giving these kids skills, giving them job skills, giving them credentials. But how about talking about dealing with the racism they face for being a young black man with a hoodie on in in my Zoom call, Jaquan?
That's better for y'all.
Thank you, my brother, and I love you to death for that, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel it.
Yo, Paul, you're on mute. Paul, you're on mute.
Okay. So even like young Jaquan, you know, he rocked the hoodie. All the youngsters rock the hoodies right here, man. So sometimes me and Chris come in there rocking the hoodie too, because he wants somebody to try to tell us to take it off.
On purpose.
You know? Because that does not make him a criminal. Right. That does not make him relevant because he rocked the hoodie. That's they get busy right there. Back in our days, man, we rocked the Scully dead. You could almost even see our face back in the day. That was our thing. You know what I'm saying? So we refuse to let them be stereotyped, man.
Right.
We refuse to let them be stereotyped. And anybody, and another thing that we try to make sure we do, we protect our data, man. Because there's some data hackers around, bro. They'll come in. In our RVA league, bro, we got over 200 black males from the high crime areas, if you will, from the city. Man, everybody and their mama, all those big organizations that they talk about, be trying to get in, talking about, hey, we want to partner with you guys. But we know they data hackers. Because they ain't going to try to take our data and apply for those same grants and use our numbers. Man, we protect that, man.
Yeah, no.
We protect it. No, because we're not going to get the banana in the tailpipe, man. But I tell you what, man.
But Paul, hold up, before you go, and I this is such a good conversation. But you know, I'm real skeptical, man, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I'm not speaking upon the organizations I'm affiliated with, although I know they would agree with me. But what is data, man? For all the brothers here, and Paul, let's talk about that. Like, what if you collected the wrong data? Let's talk about what data. What is the data that they should be? Let's be real about this. What is the data that they should be collecting?
Man, listen. Okay, so prime example. First of all, you're not getting nothing if Jaquan and them don't trust you. That's first. You're not getting nothing. I'm talking about, you're talking about underlining circumstances, man, that you're going to need, right? So, for instance, we have one guy that came into the gym, young guy, you know, and, you know, he felt so comfortable to be able to come to us and say that he felt like, you know, he wanted to end his life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you think we're going to send him, you know, when we collect that data or understanding of what's going on with his circumstances, do you think we're going to send him to somebody that a behavioral health group or some type of mental health people that's out here that claim they're doing the work, but and they just give him a bus pass and send him somewhere else?
Awesome.
Nah, man, we're going to send him to somebody that's actually going to make sure he gets what he gets. And this kid is still in our league today. Right. And he's thriving because we trusted the organizations that we do line up with that we believe in, that we know that when we do something, they really going to do the work. Right. So when we collect our data, you know, we go into depth, man. Whether that's, you know, substance abuse, you know, everybody smoke a little bit. We understand that, but we ain't holding it against them. Right. You know that some people have some issues, and we just collect these things so we have an understanding and we know how to connect the dots to make sure they get, because we are not service or professional service providers, but if we know Chuck got this situation going over there, or we know your organization, bro, has something that can help this kid, man, we don't mind sending them, man. We don't care about who gets the credit. And that's an old saying right there, man. A person can be anything they want to do as long as they don't mind who get the credit. Well, bro, we don't care who get the credit, as long as our young people get the help, man.
So, but why do you say you're not professional service providers? I think that's part of the problem.
Meaning that we don't have certification with mental health as the traditional way. We don't have these such and such. Well, because we got peer recovery specialists, yeah, we got to have that. But I'm talking about on the mental health aspect and those particular alphabets that they have behind their name to be qualified QMPHs.
Well, hold on. And I think that's part of the problem, Paul. And, you know, with all due respect to all the brothers in here, I think what you're saying is part of the problem in our mindset, right? So you said we are not professional. I know what you meant. But what if we created the professional standards for the field? So, for example, cultural competence, right? And I'm going to give y'all a great example. And this is the work I do around the country in Charleston, right, Whitney, in many cities, right? So I'll go into an organization and I'll ask them, what are the services that our young people need? And they'll say, what do they normally say? Tell me. What are services our young people need?
Jobs.
Just give me a list. Give me two, J Hall.
Job training.
Jobs, access to better education.
Wellness.
I'm gonna say jobs and education. Wellness, like services. Service, yeah, that's good. Services for wellness. Like the trauma, I mean, honestly, just sitting back, listening to everybody speak on it, like, we talking about systems, you know what I'm saying? We talking about systems that don't, like when you get down to the root of them, none of these systems apply to us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So thinking within the parameters of these systems that, you know what I'm saying, have nothing to do with us. If anything, these systems, we at war with these systems. You know what I'm saying? And at this point in time, like, I don't even know. If you can't clarify that you is at war right now, then I don't even know what to even say to you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know what I'm saying? Harriet Tubman said, what she said, Harriet Tubman said if she freed 1,000 slaves, she could have freed 1,000 more if they knew that they were slaves. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we got to think outside of the box and come down to, like, numbers, letters, and like, because people say that they can do this, can say they do, but they can't come in and do what we can do in our community. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an educator. I've been educating for 20 years. I got a couple letters and stuff behind my name. It means absolutely shit. The only thing that means is that I had the discipline to stick with something long enough to finish it. Yep. I work with doctors and people with all kind of masters and all kind of shit that you will look at and be like, what in the fuck? Are you serious?
Already,
like, it's ridiculous. So like that,
right here. I like you.
It means nothing. Like, that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing.
Jay,
that means absolutely nothing.
Man. Everybody looks at me in your head.
I love it.
You're a national speaker, and they turn around. Why you ain't getting your PhD? I'm like, why would I want to get a PhD? I don't need your business behind my name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
More research and more reading. And Eddie, I work with these kids. I had a whole group of young people from the system with me this morning. I just came back from the YAP office in Howard County with my brothers, man. Like, that's my life. But here's my point. Here's my point, because I want to emphasize this, because this is why we're here with Jaquan, all right? That's why you got this love here. When I go around and speak to all these organizations that were created on some type of framework that I still don't understand, okay? And
they call it their model.
Their model, right? So when I ask them what services, and Chuck knows where I'm going with this, what services are necessary? They say jobs, education, wellness, trauma, blah, blah, blah. I say, okay, what I want you to do, organization, I have the staff, I say, name one organization in your city that provides that service for young people. So then I break them up into groups, and I notice that something's going on. A few of them are puzzled. I say, I didn't stutter, name one organization that provides that service in your city. And then I say, name your personal contact at that organization. And what I found out is that 50% of the organizations that are working with people, their staff can't name more than 5 organizations out of the 10 that they listed. And check this out, and only 10% can name 2 or more people who work at that organization. So what's happening? The whole system that they created, they're not helping their staff build social capital on behalf of the young people we're working with. You ain't gonna refer Jaquan to somewhere else because you know those people ain't gonna treat him right.
That's right, bro.
He came in with the hoodie.
Right.
He ain't respectful. He ain't ready for a job.
But when we talk about jobs,
they need to invest in having our staff build social capital of other organizations. But what the problem is, the director might know the other organizations, but the frontline staff doesn't. What does that mean? If we made that investment in the social capital of our staff, of the people who are investing in our staff, to making sure that we bring people from different organizations together under one goal. But the funding competition doesn't allow that. The people who give us the money are part of the problem. And they haven't figured that out yet. And that's one thing I'm saying, they gotta figure this out because there's too many separate silos. I work with young people. Young people been part of 10 different programs. If you're bringing these people from the outside to tell us what we know, that's insanity, man. So, so I'm gonna definitely share with Chuck, and Chuck has a lot of information on our work at Social Capital at YAP, and I'm definitely gonna share that with y'all. That's an assessment, Paul, that you could use with organizations. And then when I hear all these white people say, yeah, man, we care about young Black youth, I say, name 3.
Yeah.
Name 3. If you name 3 young people in your city, you ain't really down with it.
Yeah.
they still can't even clarify.
You don't even know them.
These people still don't understand why Black Lives Matter.
If you knew them, you know our beautiful children no child needs to be abused, but our beautiful children definitely don't touch them because they are beautiful children, but you never get to know them. But you out here protesting. So I'm getting off my high horse. Jaquan. All right, brother. So everybody, let's keep it under a minute. Say your name, your organization, and what you represent, and what you represent to Jaquan, and then we're gonna give Jaquan an opportunity to ask us some questions. All right, so Chuck, start off with you. Alive and free.
All right, free and alive, man. Okay, I'm Chuck. I'm director of the Home Safely program. This program is designed to target young men between the ages of 21 and 30 upon their release. We target them 90 days upon their release, find out where their skill set is, find out what their housing situation is, and prepare them to return to society. I'm also co-assisting over at the ONES program, which is for young adults who are halfway in and halfway out. I mean, some of them got ankle bracelets on, and they're getting the same wraparound services that young men from the jail are getting. I tried to speed through this because we went left on a little conversation, so quick with it.
All right, Rob, why don't you go next?
Hey everybody, I'm Raima. They call me Ra. I'm the Regional Workforce Director for Youth Advocate Programs. I'm basically the guru. I call myself the workforce plug because I connect youth to a ton of, I call it myriad of future economic opportunities. I allow them to work on financial literacy, life skills, workforce development, anything that's going to make them a better self, a better whole person.
That's space.
All right, Jay, why don't you do you? Jay Hall.
Yeah, I'm James Hall. I'm an educator, Baltimore City Public School System for 20 years, going into my 21st year. I'm affiliated with a lot of organizations, Baltimore ceasefire, BOB, Band of Brothers. We do a lot of things in the community, trying to assist the youth. I just, you know what I'm saying, I pretty much get in where I fit in, you know what I'm saying? But some of it is, I mean, yeah, some of it is nonsense. Some of it is silly. Some of the stuff is silly. So I'm kind of skeptical of what, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's energy. It's all energy. So if you put in that energy, you want to put it, make sure it's productive. So, you know what I mean? It's really getting to the Jaquans and people that need it.
That's big.
Prince, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Well, me? All right, so peace, man. I'm Prince, man. I think the most important thing I can say about what I represent is I represent the nation of gods and earths, right? That's what gave me my light. That what gave me my purpose. And then from there, you know, I guess I can call myself the heartbeat of sanity, right? Standing against negative influences towards youth, which is a program that Bro started, and it's about fatherhood, man, and about manhood. So, you know, those two things for me are the motivating factors why I do what I do. And then, you know, I'm the RVA lead coordinator, workshop coordinator for Safer Streets. Like I told you earlier, it was a privilege to do that. But the most important thing, man, just, you know, I'm about people knowing who they are as individuals, because I feel like once you know who you are, then from there, everything else is going to be made clear for you, because we go to these educational centers and we come out worse than we went in. So I'm like, bro, them things is kind of skeptical for me. So I'm about the knowledge itself.
Build, destroy.
Brother
You
Paul.
already know.
Brother Paul, introduce yourself, man.
All right, so you know, I call myself, you know, Taylor Paul, man, because it was my way on the inside, you know, announcing to those outside of prison that I was the complete opposite of who they tried to describe me to be. I'm also the co-founder of RVA Lead for Safer Street, and as Prince mentioned, the Sanity Project, which is again is an acronym for Standing Against Negative Influence Towards Youth. Also, Prince and I are engaged in Newport News with a program called We Are, and the R stands for Arts, Rethinking, and Economics. So I guess my spiel, man, is, you know, I'm just a person out here trying to my best to restore some sort of humanity back inside of society, you know, being incarcerated for over 23 years and, you know, being right there with Prince. And so it's so ironic. Prince and I, again, took the unconventional route to being educated and understanding. And what I mean by that is every time I was in the juvenile detention, Prince was there. Every time we went upstate to the juvenile prison, Prince was there. When we started going to city jail, Prince was there. The city farm, Chuck, you know, in Newport News, Prince was there. And then prison. Well, we also noticed that when we got there, a lot of the same kids that we seen on that same roller coaster ride were there too. The same kids we saw in juvenile facilities as kids were the same men that we saw when we graduated to prison. So, like I said before, we just a couple guys that's coming out here trying to eradicate some of the social ills that we once upon a time ago helped create.
Well, yeah, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on this call. Just give you a little about this call. YAP Works Virtual was created this was actually created a few months ago after COVID-19, but YAP Works is an opportunity to give our young people the opportunity to meet people from different occupations and different careers, because we know 65% of jobs are not advertised in the newspapers. Young people cannot apply for jobs that they do not know exist. They cannot dream about careers that they never heard of. So we bring different people from different occupations to meet our young people, and the young people get to ask questions to these professionals, and then they get to share that information with people in their community. All our young people are paid a stipend for participation of up to $100 for getting this information out to their people. So Jay, you know what you got to do, man. So Jaquan, we have questions. You want to see the questions? You want to use these questions? Or do you have your own questions for the brothers who are here and sisters?
I got two of my own questions for Prince and Paul, but I kind of don't even know how to really answer them.
We got you, brother. Don't worry about it. We got you. So why don't you ask your two questions to Prince and Paul?
All right. Let me see how I can put it.
Just put it, little bro. That's all. We can understand it any kind of way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, cause with me for real, like my dad wasn't always care for real. I ain't really got no males in my family. Like I'm really growing up around all the the girls and stuff for real. So like basically.